God of our journeys, we rise this morning with gratitude in our hearts for Drift Creek Camp and the important place it has been for so many of our lives. Thank you for your presence here among us as we gather to worship you. Thank you for the evidence we see of you in our created world. Guide us on the roads we travel in our pilgrim journeys. Give us the strength to be servants to you, our Creator, to one another, and to the world you have blessed us with. And be with us in this time of worship, we pray. Amen. We are going to hear from Christine Van Bell of Corvallis Mennonite Fellowship in a little bit here. Christine is a really amazing person. She's a trained psychologist and school psychologist, and so she has a lot of wisdom to bring on a number of levels. She is the mom of two amazing daughters, Ruby and Iris, and she is married to Jim, although sometimes she forgets that. Like yesterday, someone was asking her about Jim, and she was like, who's Jim? So she has a really good sense of humor, and we are really glad to be able to hear from Christine Van Bell this morning.
Okay, some of my people have now awoken. I was kind of nervous. That's more to be good. So yes, like she said, I'm a school psychologist. I'm not a pastor, but I have had the tremendous privilege and luck to be camp pastor several times here at camp. And usually I work with the youngers. I like them younger because they still think you're great. I've worked with 3rd and 4th grade camp. I did Parent and Me camp. This past summer it was Parent and Me camp and 3rd and 4th grade camp. And I thought we would start our morning with something that we often do at camp, which is memorizing scripture. And we try to memorize scripture with some body movement because it's hard to just memorize scripture by just memorizing it by yourself. And our kids who are at 3rd and 4th grade camp aren't real big verbal processors, right? Not yet. They're not cognitively developed in that area yet. So we try to do a lot of movement with our Bible verses. So the Bible verse we're going to do today is, the friends of God are like trees planted by living water. This is sort of Psalm 1, right? The friends of God are like trees planted by living water. So we're going to stand up. So what we're going to do is, hold on. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll do it first for you, and then we're all going to do it together. So we're going to say, the friends of God, and then we're going to give God a high five. Hey, God! So that's what you do with your friends. So we're going to say, the friends of God, hey, God, are like trees. And then we're going to get down into yoga tree pose, planted by living water. Now, if you can bring your foot like way up there and do that, I can't do that. So I'm just going to go like this. Okay. So we're going to say, the friends of God, hey God, are like trees planted by living waters. Good. Let's do it one more time. The friends of God, hey God, are like trees planted by living water. And let's just stay here in this pose for a minute. You can put both feet on the floor. That's too hard for you. And let's just all close our eyes. And in your head, you don't have to say this out loud. In your head, you can say, thank you, God, for being here with me. And then in your head, you can say, thank you, God, for being here among us. And let's all take a deep breath. You can breathe it out with a noise. Let's do another one. A deep breath and then breathe it out with some noise. And have a seat. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit, and then some of our favorite counselors are going to be sharing as well. So something we did at Parent and Me Camp, and this is what Brenda asked me to talk about this morning. Parent and Me Camp is for our youngest kids, right? And the parents come with their children, and the children go off to cabins with counselors, and parents party it up in the lot. And we had a breakout session while all the kids were with the counselors. Some of the parents and I got together and we talked about faith development in kids. Something that I think most parents care about if they're actually here at Parent and Me Camp. And I shared a little bit about some of the reading I've done about the Sticky Faith Project. Has anyone heard about Sticky Faith? Yeah, well, Brenda has because she was in the session. So there is the Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, and they started an institute called the Youth Institute. And this institute is basically doing research on kids and faith. And what do we know about kids, and what do we know about kids who adopt the faith, the Christian faith of their parents, and why do they do that? This institute got started based on some very alarming statistics. So we all know that kids who grow up in the church, only about 50% of them will actually stay attending any church and really adopt the faith of their own. 50%. So think about all those kids, all those cute kids you saw in that video of Drift Creek, and think about 50% of them. By the time they're adults, they're not going to be participating in any church life. So that's a very alarming statistic. So the Youth Institute organized a huge study. It was about a 10-year-long study, and this was just published, 4 or 5 years ago. And they actually, these researchers were interviewed on NPR because it was such an interesting, kind of surprising study. They did a study, they collected about 300 late 20-somethings from the world of Christianity. So they didn't pick any particular denomination, but they talked about, they talked with Pentecostals, Baptists, Mennonites, Greek Orthodox, Catholics. They had a whole array of people from within the world of Christianity, late 20-somethings. And these were 20-somethings who have an active faith life, and they were actively participating in church. And they were trying to discover what are the commonalities among all these people. Why did they stay? What did they have? If we interviewed them long enough and we try to figure out what they would say about their own faith life, what would they say that maybe all of them would say? And they came up with some surprising results. And you can look at this online. I have a book, and I don't know where it is. I think I loaned it to someone. And you can also, if you Google Sticky Faith Project, a million hits. So you can go look at this research yourself. So they put together a book, and now actually many resources following this research study, and they put together a book talking about what are the things that all these kids had in common who are now adults with their own faith life. And they came up with 4 or 5 factors, and we're just going to talk about the first factor this morning. But the first factor, and I think this is interesting because a lot of times when we talk about how can we keep our kids in church, we need to talk about relevant issues, or we need to make sure our music is appealing to them. This book came up with nothing in those areas, which I thought was kind of interesting. The first factor was all of these people could name 4 or 5 adults who were not their parents in their faith community that they had a significant relationship with. So 4 or 5 adults, not your parents, who you have a significant, meaningful relationship with. And then they described parents, they all described parents engaged in personal spiritual practice at home. So all of their parents, they could say they would name some sort of discipline that their parents did that they observed and sometimes participated in the home. Another one was they all engaged in acts of service or volunteerism with their family related to their faith community. And then there were 2 more, and I don't remember them, and like I said, I don't have the book. And the internet service is really slow here, so you have to go get the book if you want to know the 2 other things. But we're going to, the biggest factor I want to talk about is those relationships with 4 or 5 significant adults. And that brings us back to Tony and Brenda and Drift Creek. This is why I keep running after Tony and Brenda, begging them to be my friends, because these things are happening here at Drift Creek. Drift Creek has those 4 to 5 meaningful relationships with Jesus followers who are not their parents in spades. And I'm guessing that the fact that you are here today means that you have had those 4 or 5 meaningful adult relationships in your own life. I'm guessing that's true for a lot of you, and you can think about them. I was thinking about them for myself. Who were they in my life? I absolutely have them. I think about, there's a guy, Mince Reinsma. He was, my parents are from Holland. Mince Reinsma was my catechism teacher, and he was very active in the Dutch underground in World War II. And he went on later to become my catechism teacher, and I could tell he loved me. He thought I was so great, which was irrational. But I loved him, and he would often kind of throw out our catechism curriculum and just tell us stories of what happened during the war. And then he would want to hear our silly sort of adolescent stories. And he was very instrumental in just giving me a sense of, oh, this is real. Faith is, this following Jesus business is a real thing. It's not a piece of paper. It's not just a cultural identity. It's a personal transformation. Donna DeVries, Harry Van Bell, Anya Braun, these are my people. And I'm guessing that you have yours. So research is showing us a big factor that facilitates children evolving into adults of faith is relationship. And I heard Tony Campolo, you guys all know who Tony is. I heard him talk about this once, and he sort of framed it in the framework of attachment theory, which of course as a psychologist I loved. So when we are training kids to have healthy attachment with us, and kids who are not our kids, when we are giving them healthy attachment to us, we are essentially paving the way for them to have healthy attachment with Jesus, which is what we want, right? That's why we're doing all of this. So So I loved that. And I see that in spades here at camp. That's why I keep coming back. I see that in my daughter Ruby, who is 16, and feels very sad that she can't be here, by the way, who's visiting Eastern Mennonite University this weekend with some other kids. She feels very loved the minute that she steps into camp here. And it's not just seeing her buddies. She'll talk about Tony and Brenda and Glenn as if they are her personal besties. And it's very heartwarming. I recently saw at Fall Festival in Albany, Ruby and a bunch of friends ran into Tony. And I was kind of near them, but Tony ignored me. and was talking to these girls, and they're just chatting, and Tony then, of course, helps them take pictures of themselves, which is what a lot of teenage girls want to do. And I thought this is a great example of what I'm talking about. This is the sticky thing, right? That my kids know the people here really love them, and it's not about sitting down and teaching them catechism, right? It's about relationship with them. You think their jokes are funny. You want to know what they're thinking about the world because you care about them. You know where they're from. Not in a way, I'd like to know what young people think about this topic, which is kind of stilted and uncomfortable. And I've seen that in camp, not just with my own kids, but being camp pastor. I've seen that with the kids who come here. Most of the kids who come here are like amazingly well behaved and wonderful to be around. But there are turkeys in the bunch. There's kids that are hard. They are hard to love. And I have seen over and over again Tony and Brenda, Gabe, Tessa, Trevor, Josh. I'm thinking about all the counselors I've worked with who they've got one kid who's really, really tough. And they fight to keep them here. I was just talking with Brenda last night, like, how many kids have we ever sent home? And I think it's like less than 1 or 2. It's only 1 in 10 years. Because when kids get to be stinkers, they don't just send them off like they would at school. A lot of kids, can get out of school suspension for misbehaving. But here, instead of that suspension, they get wrapped around with a lot of blood. So just like that verse we memorized, there's much living water here at Drift Creek, and it is helping many, many kids become friends with God. I'm going to share something Ruby, my daughter, wrote about what Drift Creek means to her, and then we're going to hear from Lily, Katie, and Gabe, right? We have a couple counselors who will talk about their experiences. So Ruby writes, I've always looked at Drift Creek as a haven for myself away from the stress and uncertainty of school, and what I tend to refer to as the real world. Not to say that the community at Drift Creek is fake, quite the opposite, but it sometimes feels unreal that friendships and trust that would normally take ages to develop can grow in a matter of days and weeks at camp. Despite only coming to Drift Creek about 3 or 4 times a year, I still feel incredibly close to many of the people here. At camp, I feel I can talk more openly about my faith and have in-depth conversations with them, more so than in other places. So the safety and community that camp has provided has been quite significant in my life thus far. This summer, I was a counselor for the first time for just a couple of days, and I was incredibly impressed by how supportive all the counselors were of each other. I felt a little nervous at first about fitting in with this group of people who were somewhat older than me, who had already been bonding and working together for weeks. But this nervousness did not last long at all. By the end of the first counselor meeting, everyone on the staff was welcoming and supportive, helping me figure out how to manage 12 rambunctious 5th and 6th graders. I find Drift Creek to be my home away from home, and I'm always eager to return, and I hope that many people after me are able to enjoy the same sanctuary that I have found. So that's from Ruby, and who are we hearing from first? Katie, Lily, Gabe? Gabe. Gabe is a camp favorite.
So I do want to slightly apologize because I've been sick for the past week, so that's what's going on here. But yeah, as I said, I've been coming to camp for many years, which is why there was kind of a struggle when she asked me to come up and speak. They gave me kind of a specific guideline. They're like, can you talk on this? But I have 12 or 13 consecutive years of just summer camp memories. So that one specific thing I could talk about is like 40 different stories, So it's kind of a little bit of a challenge. But I kind of threw it all out the window the second I came and started listening to Christine talk because, besides that, what I actually heard her say was sticky faith. And when it comes to Drift Creek Camp and relationships and all that stuff, sticky faith is something that I can directly correlate in my life to just being here at camp. And what that means to me is that before I became this 8-year counselor that's been here for a long time, I was just a little middle schooler that probably drove my counselors crazy beyond belief numerous times. She says I'm patient with the kids now, but that's solely because I was that rambunctious kid that they would come to staff meetings and be like, I can't handle this kid. I just can't do it. That would have been me. But it was also about that time, hopefully a little back. No, I was probably still back in middle school. But about elementary, middle school where, I can't remember the statistic you said now, but something about how, might have gone to church in the past, but it doesn't stick with you for life. And I can clearly say that it was actually, it was actually my relationships here at camp when I was back in middle school and things like that that really gave me the sticky faith that I have today. It was the number of counselors that I can still name off and tell you I still have huge, great relationships with a lot of them that actually is the sole reason why I am a 23-year-old college student who still firmly believes in God, that wears my cross necklace to class every day, that, all my friends know is that Christian boy, regardless of how I act or any of these things, they are fully aware of, who I am and what my beliefs really lie in, and I can directly say that that is a direct representation of my time here at camp. The relationships I built with staff members, the ones I still have, it's just all because of those relationships, that time that I spent here, that I have the sticky faith that has kept me through my early 20s and for a lot longer. So that's all I have. Thanks, guys.
Keith. Oh, Kate. Hi. Some of you may know me, I'm Katie Chubb. Other people may know me as the Rook Champion. I've been coming to Drift Creek for roughly 15 years, so pretty much raised here. I'm 23, so way more than half my life, and I love it. When I got invited to come up to the annual meeting, I was like, oh, I can come, it's finally, like, I'm here, I'm an adult, I can do this, I can come and participate. Any chance I get, it's, like Ruby said, a home away from home. I was raised in a Christian home, went to church every Sunday, but this was the place where I could come and feel like I could be a Christian, like I could show my faith and I could talk to people and I could grow. Because when you're a teenager and you're going to public school, it's not easy to be a Christian and talk about it out loud, because you're just trying to fit in and find yourself. But here at Drift Creek, you can come and it's just a family. First time you come here, everyone just showers you with love and support, and you just feel God. You can feel it in the people, see it in the way that they treat you, and it's amazing. And so thank you for coming and donating and continuing this wonderful legacy, because it is crucial. And I can't wait to send my kids here someday and come up here and watch them grow. So thank you very much. And that's all I have.
Hi, I'm Lily. Most of you guys know me. I'm Andy Brenda Kaufman's daughter. I got adopted from South Korea when I was 3 months old, and I remember being at camp like my whole life. I have a 30-year-old brother, and he came to camp when he was younger, so I remember like riding up with him to camp, that windy gravel road. I've been going to camp, so driving with my parents to drop him off, and then I remember like going second, third grade, all the way up to now. like everyone else, I went through a lot of obstacles in life, and they were not the easiest things to go through. So I just remember like Ruby and Katie and everyone else I call like real life, like outside of camp. The real world is just really hard to like identify yourself and like not be able to like try and be like everyone else just to fit in. And I remember just trying to be like everyone else and trying to fit in and not wanting to be myself because I was too scared of acceptance. And I just remember every year that I came to camp, like even the first year, like the first year my parents dropped me off, I cried my eyes out. I didn't want them to leave. I thought that they were gonna leave me at camp forever and never come back. So they had to stay until after group games, which everyone knows that's like after dinner and all that. But then after they left, I just was crying, and my first counselors, Maggie Gilman and then Kristen, they just just comforted me in all this love and everything. I just felt so comfortable after that, and like by the time my parents came back to pick me up, I ran away. And just saying that as a second grader, that just like shows just how much love like I always felt here. And I was just like, every year that I came back, I just didn't have to put on this like big identity thing. I was just able to be myself. Like once a year, I just was never afraid to be myself, and I just always felt love and acceptance. And just like, I just knew that I was very cared about here, and I decided it was time to give back. And I told myself it was only gonna be a 1 year thing. So I came to camp, and it's just like, it's so great just to be able to like pass on that role and just see that camp hasn't changed with like changing like people's lives how it did for me, and just like seeing just how supportive all the kids are and their staff. And like, I learned things from campers. Like, I know that sometimes like we just think that we're teaching kids things, but I remember like every day of the week of summer that I was on staff here, I just learned a new thing from kids, like daily. It's just so great to see their love and how much they care about one another. Yeah, camp has just helped me through a lot and all these other kids, and I'm just so happy, yeah, that I got to experience this.
Thank you. Brenda, I think you're up.
Sorry, I'm weak. We collected some reflections from counselors after the programs this summer, and again, counselors talked about how powerful it was to sing outside under the stars at Fireside in his circle, and especially the awareness of how the voices changed. You know, you start out with high school kids with deep full voices, and by the end, there was little third and fourth grade voices, and sometimes it was good just to stop singing or stop and just listen, and just the power of that. And we're so grateful for the young adults who are willing to share their talents in leading singing. So Harrison is going to lead us in some favorite camp songs this morning. And so hopefully you'll all join us. Do you want help taking down?
I'm just going to chair.
So you might just stand up and move around.
We're going to sing, I've got a couple songs picked out. We're going to sing As a Deer Panteth Before the Water.
You
oldie because I like this song and we never sing it. And so we're gonna sing it.
Children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and the valley folk below. On the mountain was a treasure buried deep beneath the snow, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. So go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. So the people of the valley sent a message up the hill, asking for the buried treasure, tons of gold for which they killed. Came an answer from the kingdom, with our neighbors we will share all the secrets of our mountain, all the riches buried there. So go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. In the valley, fight with anger, mount your horses, draw your swords, and they killed the mountain people, so they won their just reward. Now they stood beside the treasure on the mountain, dark and red. Turned the stone and looked beneath it, peace on earth was all it said. So go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven, you can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away.
All right. So for this last song, and the last fireside at camp, we split it down the middle and we all turn and we look at each other. So I would like you to do the same. This side can look at this side, and this side can look at this side. There you go. Smile, smile. If you need the words, you can look at the words. All right. Slack. Okay.